Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Move with the Sports Caravan Show with Jim Powers. I'm Chris Miller, is joined always by Jim Powers and Riley Blair again. This episode of On the Move with the Caravan is brought to you by Wiley Agencies. For multiple policies under one roof, you can get one agent. You call Sean Wiley at his Festus office at 636-764-6294, his Hillsborough office at 636-333-9903. He'll take care of you as he does always. Fellas, how y'all doing today?
Doing great. I mean, after last week and the games this week, I mean, you figure week 6, somebody's going to take a breather. Well, guess what? Nobody's taking a breather if you're one of the top dogs in the area and also in the state. I mean, it's just, once again, last week was terrific. And this week, my gosh, the slate of games we're going to look at are just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the matchups that we had last week, I thought were top notch, and then you turn around and you look at the matchups we have this week, and you're thinking, man, that outdid that one. So I'm looking forward to talking about this week's matchups, but we want to definitely hear about last week's matchups and how they all turned out.
Yeah, Jim. So let's kind of review on those real quick. We had St. Pius X defeating Herculaneum 41-0. Rockwood Summit defeating Lindbergh 35-10. Ladue, they lose 13-24 to Parkway North. Hillsborough, in that rivalry game we talked about for weeks against Festus, they won 42-21. St. Francis Borgia, they fell to St. Dominic 34-24. And the big surprise to me for anybody who is watching, CB was DeSmet beating CBC 49-14. I mean, talk about that game a little bit, Jim.
We're going to start with the last first. I mean, I've always wanted to say that. You know what? I don't think DeSmet surprised me winning. I think it was the margin of victory that I think blew everybody away. And what everybody's got to understand, DeSmet's defense is for real. Let's just put that to bed right now. They are as legit of a defense as we've seen in this area in an awfully, awfully long time. They got turnovers. They made it a short field. And then when you got a kid like Dylan Duff, you've got DJ White, you've got those receivers that he can get the ball to. Guess what? They're going to take full advantage of that. That's exactly what they did. CBC turned the ball over way too many times. They gave DeSmet a short field, and then the next thing you know, DeSmet's putting it into the end zone. And that's where that game got out of hand really, really quick in the first half. And by that point, you weren't going to be able to catch up with DeSmet. They've just got too many weapons. And honestly, the way their defense is playing right now, they're playing at a state championship pace defensively. And so you look at that game, DeSmet, we'll talk about the polls here in a second, but, DeSmet moves up, and they very well should have moved up in the poll. You look at Pius, a nice victory for them. Rockwood Summit just continues to roll. And, they're taking everybody 1 week at a time. They got a great victory on the road. And that's what you got to continue to do. When they're stacking up wins, the unfortunate thing is in Class 5, there's just not a lot of wiggle room right now. I mean, they're 5-0, but they're still locked down in the bottom of that poll because of everybody above them just continuing to win. Hillsborough, dominant. Let's just, there's some local people that don't even have Hillsborough in their top 10. They're out of their ever-loving minds. Hillsborough is a top 10 team in this area, all classes. Let's just forget about it. Let's start giving Hillsborough the love that they need. And St. Dominic's is another one. They got a great victory against a very, very good Borgia team. Thomas Pulliam, it really is filling the shoes of Jackson Overton from last year. The kid is a legit running back. He's doing a great job. And that St. Dominic defense has been terrific as well. And Riley, I know you were able to watch a couple of those games. What were some of your takeaways from some of those games?
Well, the DeSmet CBC game, I watched the entire first half, and just the capitalizing on the turnovers. DeSmet just got a short field and was able to capitalize and score off a lot of those. And that was a big difference maker. When you get up that big early against a really good team, it's really tough to come back from. And so I felt like that was kind of the difference in that matchup. You give somebody 35 points lead at halftime, and that's tough to come back, especially in a good team. Definitely a good team. So the Hillsboro Festus matchup, that was kind of a matchup that was kind of talked about early. The game was kind of early was a really good game, and then just kind of Hillsboro just kept pounding, and took advantage of every little mistake Festus was making, and came out with a victory. That game I thought was a little closer than the score maybe emulated a little bit, but more importantly, both those two teams are top 10 teams, and looking forward to their matchup. Hopefully, come district championship time.
Yeah, they're probably gonna have a chance to see each other again at some point, whether it's the district semifinals or the finals. So let's not just say that one's over and done with. And that's what usually has happened in this matchup. They end up playing each other because of where the districts are in. So I mean, I agree. I was hoping that score was a little bit closer, but you're right, Jim. Hillsboro, they're for real. They are a top 10 team. They belong there. There's no hype. They're that good.
No. They are, and you know what? The Brown boys are just unbelievable runners. I mean, you know what they're doing. I mean, and they're doing it in every facet of the game. They're very similar to Smet. The Smet's doing it in every facet of the game. You look at Hillsboro; they're doing it in every facet of the game, and that's what you've got to do. You're into a section of the season. You're competing for a conference championship, but also you've got to look at yourselves and make sure you're doing all the right things. Right. Because right now, when you look at it, there's only 4 weeks of the regular season left. You've got to make sure you're shored up. And you also got to start looking at those district points. And when you look at that monster district in Class 6 District 2, CBC's number 4.
That's crazy, ain't it?
And guess who's number 5? Howell. If that thing shakes out the way it possibly could, there it is. I mean, and once again, coaches will say a million times, we're not looking at that. We're not. I'm telling you, I'm calling them all liars. I'm calling you all liars. Y'all are looking at the district points. You know what you got to do moving forward. And I guarantee you everybody's doing it. And I forgot to mention Parkway North. Great victory for them at home. They stopped Ladue deep in their own end, got a scoop and score for 96 yards to really solidify that game. Telling you what, Coach Odenwald is doing an unbelievable job with that Viking program. They're on the cusp of being looked at very seriously in the Class 5 rankings.
As they should. And speaking of rankings, let's go ahead and jump into those real quick here. Jim, let's talk about the Class 6. There's some movement now. Big movement.
Yeah, you knew it was going to happen. And, a lot of people, I flipped the two. But I understand where a lot of people want moving Liberty North up to number 2, putting DeSmet in at 3, Nixa at 4, and then you start shuffling through the bottom of that thing. And once again, it just gets really interesting. There's not a lot of wiggle room. And once again, if you look at the poll, nobody else received votes in the top 10 other than the 10 that were ranked. And Seckman's still sitting in a good spot right there where they need to be. So, a lot of stuff down on the bottom, shuffling around. But I'm telling you, DeSmet, I would love to see them in Lee Summit North right now. And, I mean, those are your two. Liberty North has got to beat Lee Summit North again. They matched up early. They got to play again later on this, if it gets to the semifinal, because that's who your semifinal is probably going to be, either them or a quarterfinal with those two. And then you got Nixa sitting there. Nixa's playing at an extremely high level. So, not a whole lot of surprises up top where everybody shuffled out. But the bottom, I'm telling you, it's going to get real convoluted real quick because there's a lot of big games coming up for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Lee Summit West, they jump in there at 5-0. And, we did talk about how tough Class 6 is, and it is definitely shaping up to be the toughest class in Missouri high school football.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the toughest classes. And you look at how they changed and added 10 more schools this year into Class 6. I think that made a big difference with some of those teams that were on the bubble that maybe would have had a chance to win a a state title in Class 5, now got bumped to Class 6 and have to play with some of those high quality teams. So that's what we kind of expected that early in the year when they made that decision to add 10 more teams. And so those 10 teams that they've added were some quality teams that, are really in the top 10 here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of quality. And I mean, with Hal moving up too, and Hal's not even ranked. I mean, they're no slouch either. They're going to be the 6th seed probably in that district, like Jim said.
I mean, yeah, and that's the bottom line with it. And then you look over at that other in District 1, you got Jackson and Seckman staring at each other. I mean, there's not going to be any. You got a Rockhurst team that's playing out of their minds right now. They go down to Arkansas and knock off a perennial power in Bentonville. You talk about an Oak Park team that is extremely talented. You mentioned Lee Summit West. I'm telling you, Class 6 is for real this year. We talked about last year it was Class 5. I'm telling you, Riley hit it right on the head. You add those 10 teams in, and Class 6 just got uber competitive really quickly.
Yeah, it did. And then speaking of Class 5, let's jump into that. Jim, what's your thoughts on the polls here?
Once again, Cardinal Ritter is going to be number 1 until somebody can knock them out. And I'll say it again, whoever, you've just got to keep them where they're at. You start to look, down through the thing, not a whole lot of shuffling in that classification, except for when you look at the bottom of it, kind of seeing some teams starting to slide down a little bit, some more teams starting to get a little bit more love. St. Dominic is one of those teams that's starting to get a little bit of, love. Summit, once again, they're just locked right now, and I hate that. I wish a few of these teams in that 5, 6, 7 area would start to lose, and they're not, because I think Summit should be up there a little bit higher, but nobody's losing. That's the big thing right now. So, not a lot there, but you got an MICDS team. They got a big one coming up that we'll talk about. You could see some movement there. You got a Eureka team that's kind of really shuffling right now. They bounced back last week. But once again, you've got to take care of your business on the field, and most of the teams in Class 5 are doing that right now.
I would agree.
There we go. I was waiting to see what Riley's going to jump in on that.
I would agree, and I think that you're right. I mean, this is everybody's chasing Cardinal Ritter at this point. But I mean, they're going to have to be defeated to be knocked off that number 1 spot. And I foresee at this time, I don't see if anybody's going to be doing that until maybe late in the postseason, if they do at all. So, kudos to them. And, I think they're looking like the number 1 seed right now for sure.
Yeah. And Ritter's obviously deserving. They're the top team. I agree. I would like to see Summit get more love because I think they're a really good football team. MICDS is right there as well. I mean, of course, I'd like to see those more than see some of these St. Louis area schools move up a little bit over some of these other schools that got some losses. I agree. St. Dom is right on the cusp of being ranked. Then they probably will be if they can win this week and then go into next week 6-0.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And the way St. Dominic's playing, like I said, Pulliam's doing a terrific job. Filling some big shoes. I mean, Jackson Overton was as good as a running back as we've seen in an awfully long time in this area. So it'll be interesting to see how that thing shuffles out, especially after some of the big games that are going to happen this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we move on to Class 4. Jim, let's talk about that one a little bit.
Well, whoever out in Kansas City is voting for Smithville, just please stop. Please stop. Lutheran North is the number 1 team. Bottom line, plain and simple, end it. They got MICDS this week. If they beat MICDS, you've got it. They're still number 1. They got Maryville coming up. You beat the Spoof Hounds. They run the table. They are the best team in Class 4. Let's quit the shenanigans. Smithville has got a great team. I get it. I understand that some people still think that they're better than Lutheran North. But right now, Lutheran North's resume is that they are number 1. Smithville 2, Hillsboro is 3, and that's the way it should be. Festus, there was a lot of people struggling to keep them in the poll, myself included, with 2 losses. I think that Valley loss is still coming back to haunt them a little bit from earlier this year. But then once again, you look at a very, very tightly grouped bunch in the bottom of that poll that there's just not a lot of movement with. And you got a Warrenton team that really is playing extremely well out in the western part of St. Chuck. So, it's just, once again, Hillsborough is right where they want to be. At some place down the line, you're going to have to play Ritter because of how the bracket is set up. This year, it's 1 through 8 on one side, everybody else on the other side, and then put everybody together, or 1 through 4, 6 through 8, and we roll with it. So Hillsborough is going to have to play Ritter. Remember what happened in that game last year? It was a hell of a ball game. So, be ready. But I think both teams can run the table now. And, you're still going to see some movement in the bottom part of that on the rankings. But Festus will stack up a few more wins. I think they'll be back in the mix.
Thought that was your turn to jump in again, Blair. You're killing me here.
Come on, Blair.
I know.
You've seen Festus and Hillsborough play. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I've seen both of those two teams play, and they're two similar teams in a certain extent. The Hillsboroughs, the twin or the brothers, the Brown brothers are just unbelievable. I mean, they really are. The way they play and the way they move around, I mean, it's just unreal. You got to give us some shout outs, to this Festus and the Bates and Yates combo there.
Mm-hmm.
And, they do a really nice job. That matchup, I think, will be a little bit different if they end up playing each other at some point down in district play. Just simply for the fact that that one might be at the home field advantage for the Hawks too. So that could change some things as well. So, but nonetheless, you give Coach Afadale an extra chance to knock somebody off. I think that they may have that chance to do that one more time if they get a chance.
Yeah, and it is the thing too. I mean, Hillsborough is a well-oiled machine, but there's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of time between now and the time they could possibly be playing again. So let's see how the rest of the season kind of shapes up and how things fall from there. We're going to go ahead and jump to a quick break, and we'll be right back after word from our sponsor. You are watching On the Move at the Caravan Sports Preview Show with Jim Powers. We'll be right back.
Captain of the Pee Wee football team. We may be small, but we are
mighty,
annoying. And you are so tired from playing defense against us that your focus is about to ride the bench. Woo! Go. Thanks, Mom.
Bye.
Come on. And if you have cut rate car insurance, then not even a Hail Mary will save you from paying for this. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Mayhem is everywhere. Are you in good hands?
Are you tired of boring sports talk shows? Then tune in to the Coach's Box. These guys don't just talk sports. They talk about whatever the heck they want to talk about. Watch new episodes of the Coach's Box each week for free on Facebook, YouTube, or the Streamline Sports app.
All right, everybody, welcome back to On the Move at the Caravan Sports Preview Show with Jim Powers. Don't forget, the show is sponsored by Wiley Agencies. You can get multiple policies with one agent. That's Sean Wiley. Give him a call today at his Festus office at 636-764-6294 or his Hillsborough office at 636-333-9903. He'll take care of you. You're in good hands with Sean Wiley and Allstate. So let's jump right into our preview matchups, fellas. I think we got some good ones again, Jim. You've done a really good job, and every time I harass you to get these, you are doing a fantastic job of getting them, and they are really good matchups.
I'm giving you on Sundays. I'm giving to you on Sundays. I don't want to hear any more complaining. You're getting them on Sundays when I do my state rankings, okay?
I love it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
I love it because I think there's so many good matchups, and I mean, every week, and seems like we always get the quality 6 matchups that, we feel like that are the best matchups in the St. Louis region and the St. Louis metro area. So kudos to you, Jim, for picking these out each week.
Yeah, big pat on the back to you, Jim. I don't ever give you enough pats on the back.
I never get pats on the back. What are you both talking about?
You're welcome. So our first
Thank
matchup,
you.
I'm going to jump right into on that one. Our first matchup features the Russellville Indians making a long trip east to take on the Crystal City Hornets. Russellville comes into this matchup with a 2-3 record after dropping their Week 5 matchup against Scotland County 28-22. And yes, I know where that is. They will take on a Crystal City team that is riding a 3-game winning streak after a 12-8 win last week against Gateway STEM. The 4-1 Hornets have relied on their ground game this year, just like they did last year, with 2 seniors carrying the bulk of the load. Cannon Bolton, who has 628 yards on the ground and 8 touchdowns, and Caden Raftery, who has 448 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns. Russellville knocked off Crystal City in last year's matchup 38-36. So, guys, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, Crystal City's getting votes in the Class 1 poll, okay?
Yeah.
So they know if they can stack a few more victories, they're going to sneak themselves into that number 4, number 5 slot. And I think, they've got redemption on their minds because they had a chance to win that game last year against Russellville and wasn't able to do it. And those 2 kids, Bolton and Raftery, they are really, really good people running backs wise. So I'm going to give the edge to Crystal. I think they know they've got a lot riding right now on stacking up some victories, not only for district points, but also, there's a lot of turmoil going on up with Louisiana. That's their lone loss. They're in the same district. So they know that they've got a great opportunity to make it out of district, something that they just fell a little bit short doing last week. And so, once again, I think the rest of their season amplifies quite a bit. Get a W against a team that beat you last year, and I think that's going to keep that momentum train going for you.
I definitely agree with you, Jim. And, one big thing that I think they got going for them this year is this game is at home. And you're playing at the what I call one of the best stadiums to watch a football game at, with those stone bleachers over there. I mean, it's a phenomenal facility to watch a game at. But, more than less, I think that's a big advantage for Crystal City. Russellville's going to have to take that long trip over on a bus to come over in there and play. It's very difficult for teams to do that. And so, my tap goes to Crystal City Hornets this week in that matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're primed for a win.
Our next matchup will feature the Festus Tigers taking on the host North County Raiders. Festus dropped to 3-2 after a tough loss to the rival Hillsboro Hawks last week, 42-21, scoring 14 of those points in the fourth quarter. While the Tigers' offense has been inconsistent at times, there have been a number of positives this season with Coach O. North County is looking for some positives after losing last week to Mount Vernon, Illinois, 28-14. With the loss, the Raiders fall to 1-4 on the season, are in danger of having their first losing seasons since 2019. Last season, these 2 teams split their matchups as North County took the regular season matchup 30-20, and Festus winning the postseason matchup 28-15. Both teams have been up and down this year. So, Jim, what's your take on this one?
This is Festus. Honestly, North County is down this year, and we saw that when they played Hillsboro a few weeks ago. And Festus is once again, they're 3-2, but they are a really, really, really good 3-2 team. I think North County rebuilding mode, trying to get some things going in the right direction. But I think Festus, they know that they've got to win some ball games, not only for district points, but also for state rankings. So, Coach Fadale is going to have those kids ready to roll. And once again, they want to get that monkey off their back, so to say, losing the regular season matchup last year to a team. And these are 2 different North County teams when you look at it. Last year was a great veteran group of guys. This year, a bunch of young guys that are getting used to things. So I got to go with Festus in this matchup. I just think they're a little bit too powerful, a little bit too deep for, a North County team to catch up with them.
Yeah, and I agree with
even
that.
Though this road,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Blair.
And sorry, Chris. We'll keep doing this. But even though this matchup's on the road for the Tigers, I feel like that's North County has been struggling this year a little bit, and kind of a normal for a North County Raider team. But nonetheless, I think that it'll be a good matchup. I think this teams are kind of a rival since the last 3 or 4 years. So I think it'll be a decent matchup, but I think Festus will come a long way with the victory, especially late in the game for sure.
And the only way I would say that North County, does well, it's a tough place still to go down to Bonne Terre and play. They have a great student section. They do a really good job of getting behind their team, and there is some winning tradition there at North County. You're right, Jim. They're not where they were last year, where they have been, but I do look for I do look for it to possibly be a game, but I do look for Festus to come out on top. That's my pick. I do say North County makes it close. They play gritty. They play tough at home, but at the same time, I think it's going to come out with the win. Our next matchup features another non-conference matchup as Valley Catholic makes the trip west to take on Park Hill Central. Valley won their 4th game in a row last week, defeating St. Vincent 54-0, and now sit 4-1 on the year. The Warriors' defense has come up big, giving up 0 points in the last 3 games combined, and a total of 27 points on the season. That's pretty impressive. They will take on a Park Hills team that has dropped their last 2 games, including last week, to conference rival St. Genevieve 21-20. The Rebels were without All-State senior quarterback Caden Murphy last week due to an injury he suffered against Cape Central. Senior wide receiver safety Joby Bryant has stepped in as quarterback in the last 2 weeks, racking up over 400 yards passing and nearly 300 yards rushing over the last 2 games. These 2 teams split last year's matchups as Valley took the regular season game 40-30 and Central took the postseason matchup 30-21. If the Rebels are still banged up on Friday, this is going to be a tough one, guys. I'm just telling you right now that I've talked to a couple people. Park Hill Central is like a walking mash unit.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and you don't want that going against Valley right now. And and I'm going to correct you on one thing. This is a conference matchup because remember, Valley joined.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so this is a big one, and it's big on a lot of levels. Valley, you're looking at getting a conference championship possibly. You're looking at continuing to climb in the Class 2 poll. But, once again, you're also playing a team that has not given up points in the last 3 weeks. And that Valley Catholic defense, once again, we talk about the Smet. Valley in Class 2 is just a really, really good defensive team. And, I hate to say it, and I know the folks down in southern Jefferson County and St. Genevieve County aren't going to like this, but Park Hill Central has no right losing to St. Gen. Even though St. Gen is having a really, really good year this year, Park Hill Central has no right losing that game. And unfortunately, when you take a loss like that, it is hard to get yourself going again. And playing Valley the week after, that's where it makes it really interesting. So I got to go with the Warriors. I think they want the conference title. I think they want to, continue to move in the right direction, get that number 1 seed in their district in Class 2 and keep things rolling.
I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to fire the guy who does the research for this stuff because he should have known they were in the conference. That guy sucks.
Remember, this is only the second year. Last year was the first year the conference moved, and not a lot of people realize that Valley did move over into, I believe that is the
Mississippi Red.
Mississippi Red.
I think so. I think that's
not a lot of people realize that Valley made that move on the football side.
Right. And that's the thing too. I mean, even Joey Bryant, he's had a really good game last couple of weeks stepping in. He's also banged up too from taking some big hits in that St. Gen game. So you're right. That's a game they should not have lost. I don't know from the people I've talked to. I don't know if they're gonna have the quarterback back, if Murray's gonna play or not. But again, this is not the time to be hurt playing against Valley Catholic.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I think that's going to be a tough situation if you're Park Hill Central at this point. I mean, I think you need to get healthy and you need to be ready for postseason, and throwing them out there against a really, really good Valley team may not be the best answer if you're still nursing some of those injuries. With that being said, I know this is a meaningful game, but at the same time, you're playing for that postseason opportunity. And I feel like if that's the point, you want to get those guys healthy for the end of the year. Our next matchup will feature the Battle of the Unbeatens. The MICDS Rams take on the host Lutheran North Crusaders. Last week, MICDS cruised to an easy win against John Burroughs, 42-13. The Rams got another big performance from junior quarterback Brian Gould, who threw for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as rushing for 142 yards and 3 touchdowns. Lutheran North also cruised to an easy win last week as they routed rival Lutheran South 63-0, scoring 44 points in the first quarter.
Jeez.
Junior quarterback Dakari Hollis had himself a big game as well, as the Crusaders he threw for 158 yards, 3 touchdowns, and rushed for 67 yards with 3 touchdowns. Lutheran North has won 4 of its last 5 games against MICDS, including last year's matchup 34-18. Since this isn't soccer and we have no ties, who stays unbeaten in week 7, Jim?
Jim liked that one.
I did like that one. There was a soccer reference, and I never in a million years thought that Miller would ever do that to us.
Gotcha.
Golly. I mean, you've got 2 great quarterbacks in Golden Hollis, 2 really good defenses. It's a toss-up, but you're playing at Lutheran North on the road on a Friday night. The slight edge. And I mean, this is a game that literally we talk about last possession. If these 2 teams come out the way I know that they could come out, this will be a last possession game. I think they're 2 extremely good teams. They both know they've got a lot on the line right now. Liberty North looking to hold on to that number 1 slot. MICDS, they won a conference championship in the absolute worst way. And they know the only way they can get it is they've got to knock off the Crusaders. I mean, 2 great teams. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere on Friday night. 2 great quarterbacks, 2 great defenses, slight edge, and just because of the home field, and plus, honestly, the schedule, I give it to Lutheran North because Lutheran North has gone through a gauntlet, and I think they're really, really battle-tested right now.
I like how you took exactly what I was going to say about their schedule. You just took my thunder. I 100% agree. And I think what they've done, who they've beat, how they've played, only makes them battle-tested for this game. You take that, you take them playing at home, it's going to be one of those games. This could be some fireworks because they have dynamic quarterbacks, dual threat guys who can throw it, who can run it. This is going to be a game that if I'm a college coach, I want to come and watch. I want to come have somebody come and say, let's get some film on these guys. Let's have an opportunity to get some eyes because there's going to be a lot of talent out there playing on Friday night.
Yeah, I would agree with it. And I'm going to go on a limb here and say the first team that turns the ball over and the other team capitalizes is going to win the game because I think it's going to come down to that. I think it's going to be that kind of a matchup where the first team to turn the ball over or to make a mistake and the other team capitalize on, I think it's going to be the difference maker in that game. But nonetheless, I think I agree with Jim. Lutheran North have playing at home, tough place to play. Their atmosphere there is unreal. And, so I think I give Lutheran North the edge on this one.
So we're going to jump into our next game because it features a Metro Catholic matchup between SLU High and DeSmet. SLU High comes into this matchup with a record of 4-1 after winning last week against Vianney 48-6. The Junior Billikens had another great performance from senior quarterback Marco Sansone. Did I pronounce that right, Jim? Because I want to make sure this kid can flat out play, by the way, last week as he threw for 314 yards and 4 touchdowns. He will need to be on top of his game this week as they take on a DeSmet team that knocked off CBC last week 49-14, as we mentioned before. The Spartan ground game came to play as they racked up 264 yards on the ground, and the defense scored twice to secure the win against the Cadets. And I don't think that game was ever even close than what it was. The big question for this game is whether or not 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo will be healthy enough to play for the Junior Billikens this week. Wingo, who was injured in the game against CBC, has not played in the last 2 games for SLU High. DeSmet has also won the last 5 matchups over SLU High, including last year's matchup 37-20. So, Jim, do you have any inside information? Is Wingo playing? Are we going to see the full potential here or what?
I got a feeling an MCC matchup where you got a chance to at least be second place, tied with CBC for just an unbelievable conference. I think they're going to do everything imaginable to get Wingo out there. But, once again, you want to get him out there, but you also want him healthy.
Yes. For
districts. Okay. Yeah, we still got 4 weeks. I get that. I understand. But you still want him healthy for that stretch run that you're going to have coming. You finish up the rough part of your season. Now, you've got some time, but once again, as much as SLU High has improved, and this is a vastly improved team. And they've got a great quarterback. Marco is just an unbelievable talent. I saw him play a couple times last year. I've seen him play this year, and his growth has just been unbelievable. You look at Wingo, if they can get him going, if they can get him out on the field, but my gosh, just look what DeSmet's doing to people right now. And, like I said, Dylan Duff is just an unbelievable quarterback. Another kid that has really grown. And in fact, I talked to John Merritt, who's on the podcast this week. He's just excited with how much this team has come together, has grown together. And you've got to give the edge to DeSmet. It's painted pink night. It's just a battle between the two Jesuit schools here in the area. And plus, DeSmet knows that they want that number 1 seed in their district to leave absolutely no doubt. So the edge to DeSmet, we'll talk a little bit more about the painted pink night here in a few minutes. But, bottom line, I just think DeSmet is playing too much at a high level right now. And SLU playing well. They're much better, but I just don't think they can hang with the Spartans at this point.
Yeah, I would agree, Jim. And, then I think the big thing is you're not the uncertainty of having Ryan Wingo ready to play 100%. I think that makes a big advantage. Even if he's at 75%, that's still a huge loss for them, So I feel like you have to give the Smet the edge here. Just simply the fact that for watching them play last week for the first half, unreal. That team is just unbelievable to watch. They have weapons on both sides of the ball. Just an unbelievable all-around team. And so I think I give the edge here to DeSmet in this matchup.
I agree. I think with Wingo's out there, I think he's obviously going to draw a lot of attention. Reading about his injury when he got hurt, there's a chance that the coaching staff thought that he'd be okay. He could just be being sat out for precautionary reasons, but at the same time, if he's out there, he's going to make a difference. But I don't think that. I just think DeSmet's just going to have a little bit too much for SLU in this matchup. That's just me. I mean, they're pretty good.
Yeah, without a doubt, they are good.
They are good. So Riley, why don't you tell us about our final matchup?
Oh, well, the final matchup is the matchup of the Suburban Yellow Conference Super Series as Kirkwood takes on Marquette. Kirkwood had their Turkey Day bye last week and did not play a game. Marquette did take the field last week as they rolled over Northwest 49-10. Senior running back Justin Jackson had another huge day carrying the rock as he rushed for 233 yards and 4 touchdowns, as well as hauling in 77-yard reception for another touchdown. The Mustangs have won the last 5 matchups against the Pioneers, including last year's matchup, 20-17. Is Coach Macklin's Pioneers ready to start their own streak, or the Mustangs make it 6 in a row? What do you think, Jim?
Well, you look at what Kirkwood's done since they lost to DeSmet in week 1, and that's rip-off wins. And, having that Turkey Day bye week, okay, sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad. Okay, I think for Kirkwood, it's in a perfect spot for him because it lets them get healthy. It lets them kind of look internally on some of the things that they need to work on. Then this week they work on Marquette. So the bye week is at a really, really good spot. Marquette, ever since that loss to Summit, they have just played out of their minds. They beat Eureka a few weeks ago. I mean, they're just playing really, really, really well. Justin Jackson is a terrific running back. They got a great offensive line. Their defense is playing really, really well. Once again, they gave up those points to Summit, and then their defense, I think, finally had one of those type of meetings to where we better get right really, really quick. And they've been right ever since that Summit loss a few weeks back. So once again, toss up, great game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Marquette at home, tough place to play. Going to give the Mustangs a little bit of advantage, but it will not surprise me if Kirkwood catches them on the road and gets another victory to keep stacking some W's.
I don't think you can count out Kirkwood because of how they've played. They will win ugly. They don't need to win pretty. They can just keep, as long as they stay in the game, they give themselves a chance. Slight edge to Marquette because I think that you guys who vote should be having them getting some more love than what they are. They're right there. That's just me.
They are.
I'm just going to complain because I can. I'm not the one who gets to vote on this stuff. But I think I think they're a really, I think they're a really good team. And I think they're showing what they can do by how they've been playing since they lost that first game. In the same way as Kirkwood, they're right there too, that they should probably, if they were winning big and, winning pretty, they would be getting more love too. They're the kind of team that if you sleep on them and you don't show up to play because they're not flashy, you'll come out of that game with a loss. They play to win. It doesn't matter what they look like.
I would agree with you, Chris, and I'm going to give Kirkwood the edge here in this one. I think they're just a tough team. They're going to grind it all the way out to the end, no matter what the score is. They don't even probably look at the scoreboard. In my eyes, they're just looking to play and finish, grind it out, and then give herself a chance to win. And I feel like that they're going to do that to this weekend and make it happen.
I got nothing. I think you guys hit it right on the head.
Wow, we left Jim speechless. Man,
whoa.
That's great analysis right there.
Man,
and in fact, I'm glad finally we didn't agree on a game. I'm glad there's a little bit of debate here. So that's
good. I like. Hey, you know me. I like the debate.
We know that better than anybody.
Oh well. So Jim, what you had mentioned it before about the SLU High and DeSmet game. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Well, the first thing is, and I love when the kids are getting an opportunity to give back to the community. And the three of us have all coached in, Painted Pink games. We never had that back in the day when we all played, and our early years of coaching and stuff like that. So anytime that the kids have a chance to play for something other than the sport, that makes it really, really cool. And so the Smet and they're calling it the Jesuits versus Cancer, which I think is really cool. It's their Painted Pink night. All the money that is driven will be donated back to the American Cancer Society. They do such a terrific job, and the money stays here in the St. Louis area, which is really cool as well. And then the other piece of this too is Huddle. One of the things that they're doing this year, they're doing a must-see game of the week, and they're taking it all around the Midwest. And it's been really cool to see some of the matchups and see how they're partnering with schools to kind of bring the spotlight onto some of these terrific rivalries. And so the DeSmet SLU High game was picked for that game this week. And so, the eyes of the nation are going to be on what they call the Palace on Ballast, so to say, on Friday night. And, it's just great that we can showcase what we do here football-wise, on a national platform. And I think Huddle's done a terrific job. But I think the biggest piece of it is the kids are doing stuff to give back to the community. And I think that is really, really cool. Like I said, I know the three of us have all coached in Painted Pink games, and that's where it's fun to see the kids playing for something other than the sport. They're playing to raise money for members of the community, members of their family. Cancer sucks. Let's just say it. Cancer is a horrible disease. I wish we can come up with a way to end it. And hopefully with stuff like this to continue the funding and continue to make money for research, we can finally find a cure for cancer. So hats off to DeSmet and SLU High for putting this on, and hats off to Huddle for coming to St. Louis and really shining a light on some great football here in the area.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing, and kudos to both schools for putting this on and making it an event to help others. And it's just more than just playing the game. And there's a lot more out there than just playing a football game on a Friday night than there is anything else. So kudos to both those schools, and I hope it's a huge turnout there, and hope they raise a lot of money for cancer research.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is cool that Huddle's getting involved in this too, because we look at Huddle as being kind of like on this, we're too big for something like that, and here they're showing up in your backyard wanting to do stuff like this. So I agree, man. That's pretty awesome. And being from somebody who's dealt with cancer directly in my family, anytime there's a pink out or a Think Pink night or whatever it is, I'm all about it. I think it's awesome when the community rallies around individuals in that community and shows their support, because it is such a terrible disease.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. It'll be a fun night. I'm excited. I'll be there doing PA for the game, and It'll just be a blast. It'll be a fun night to see two teams, but also to see the student bodies and the parents and the fans, getting out there and supporting. So yeah, it's going to be a fun night.
That's awesome. And it's awesome that you get to do some PA work, Jim. We like hearing about that. So hopefully we get a chance. We'll tune in and hear you doing some announcing there in the game.
I gotta get the vocal cords ready. State volleyball's right around.
Here we go. By the way, Jim's doing volleyball
and football and football. Class 6 again.
My bad.
Come
all right.
on.
Well, we're gonna have to jump off here. We could have fun with this all day long. So anyway, appreciate it. Thanks guys for tuning in again and being a part of this, guys. I'm telling you, this is going to be a great week of football. Next week should be a lot of fun. We'll see if Jim's picks stack up to what they are this year. Hey, the bar keeps getting set high, Jim. So you can't let us down. Okay.
I know. And I struggle every Sunday trying to make sure the bar continues to raise.
Yeah, and
or
don't
no
worry.
more pats on the back if that's the case.
That's right.
That's right.
Take those away. So appreciate everybody for tuning in for another episode of On the Move at the Caravan Sports Preview Show. For all the guys here, appreciate you guys tuning in. We will see you all next week. Have a great one.
This episode of On the Move with Caravan is brought to you by Off the Rails Media. Life's more fun when you're off the rails.
Are you tired of boring sports talk shows? Then tune in to the Coach's Box. These guys don't just talk sports. They talk about whatever the heck they want to talk about. Watch new episodes of the Coach's Box each week for free on Facebook, YouTube, or the Streamline Sports app.